waitress mistook him for a backpacker without knowing he was the millionaire owner of the cafe. ***, welcome back to Behind the Door, where we bring you the most incredible stories that will leave you speechless. Before we dive into the story, comment below and tell us which city you're watching from. And once the story ends, don't forget to rate it from 0 to 10. The morning sun cast golden rays through the pristine windows of Riverside Cafe, one of the most prestigious coffee shops in downtown Seattle. Sarah Mitchell had been working there for 3 months, desperately trying to make ends meet after losing her previous job. Every penny counted, and she knew that keeping wealthy customers happy meant better tips and job security. As she wiped down tables near the entrance, the door chimed. A man walked in wearing faded jeans, a wrinkled flannel shirt, and carrying a beaten leather backpack that had clearly seen better days. His hair was slightly disheveled, and he had a few days of stubble on his face. Sarah's heart sank. This wasn't the type of customer her manager wanted in their upscale establishment. She quickly approached him, blocking his path to the seating area. "Excuse me, sir," she said with barely concealed disdain. "I'm not sure this is the right place for you. There's a diner 2 blocks down that might be more suitable for your budget." The man looked at her with calm, dark eyes and smiled gently. "I'd like to sit here, if that's all right. Just a coffee, please." Sarah glanced around nervously, noticing some of the regular customers watching the interaction. She couldn't afford to make the cafe look bad. "Look, I don't mean to be rude, but our coffee starts at $8. Do you have money?" The man nodded slowly, his smile never fading. "I believe I can manage that." Reluctantly, Sarah showed him to a corner table, the one furthest from the window where the important clients usually sat. She took his order for a simple black coffee and hurried away, hoping none of her regulars would complain about the shabby stranger Dot as she prepared his coffee. Her coworker Jenny whispered, "What's with the homeless guy? Should we call security?" "He said he has money," Sarah replied, though doubt crept into her voice. "But I sat him in the back. Hopefully he'll drink quickly and leave." When Sarah brought the coffee, the man thanked her warmly. He pulled out a leather notebook from his backpack and began writing, completely absorbed in his thoughts. An hour passed, then another. Sarah grew increasingly anxious. Other customers were whispering and pointing. This wasn't good for business. She approached his table again. "Sir, you've been here for 2 hours with 1 coffee. We need this table for paying customers." The man looked up, his expression still peaceful. "Of course. May I have the check, please?" Just as Sarah turned to get his bill, the cafe door burst open. In walked Marcus Green, the sophisticated manager who rarely showed up during morning shifts. But he wasn't alone. Behind him was the regional director, Catherine Walsh, and 2 people in expensive suits that Sarah didn't recognize. Marcus scanned the room, and his eyes landed on the corner table. His face went sheet white. He rushed across the cafe floor, nearly knocking over a chair in his haste. "Mr. Chen," Marcus practically shouted, his voice cracking with panic. "I had no idea you were here. Why didn't anyone notify me?" Sarah froze, the check still clutched in her hand. "Mr. Chen?" That name sounded familiar, but she couldn't place it. Then it hit her like a thunderbolt. James Chen, the millionaire entrepreneur who owned not just this cafe, but an entire chain of 20 premium coffee shops across the West Coast. The man who had built his empire from nothing and was known for his humble lifestyle. Despite his massive wealth, her hands began to tremble. The backpacker she had dismissed, the man she had treated with such contempt, was her actual employer, the owner of everything around her. Chen stood up slowly, setting down his pen. "Hello, Marcus. No need for notifications. I was just enjoying a quiet morning. Catherine Walsh stepped forward, her expression a mixture of concern and curiosity. Mr. Chen, we weren't expecting you for the inspection until next week. Is everything all right? Inspection? Sarah whispered, her voice barely audible. Her worst nightmare was unfolding before her eyes. Chen's gaze moved to Sarah, and for the first time, she saw something other than kindness in his eyes. It wasn't anger, exactly, but disappointment. I like to visit my cafes unannounced, he explained to Catherine, though his eyes never left Sarah. It helps me understand the true customer experience. How my staff treats people when they think no one important is watching. Marcus turned to Sarah, his face purple with rage. What did you do? He hissed. Sarah's mouth opened, but no words came out. Tears began streaming down her face. She had treated the owner of the company like trash. She had judged him based on his appearance, assumed he couldn't afford an $8 coffee, and tried to rush him out the door. She was just doing what she thought was right. Mr. Chen said quietly, though there was a sharp edge to his words. Weren't you, Sarah? The use of her name made it worse somehow. He had noticed her name tag, had known exactly who had mistreated him, and had said nothing for 2 hours. Mr. Chen, I am so sorry, Sarah finally managed to say, her voice breaking. I didn't know. You assumed that someone who doesn't dress expensively doesn't deserve respect. Mr. Chen finished for her. You assumed that appearance determines worth? The entire cafe had gone silent. Every customer, every employee was watching the scene unfold. Sarah wished the floor would open up and swallow her whole. I grew up poor, Mr. Chen continued, his voice carrying across the quiet room. My parents worked 3 jobs between them to keep food on our table. I wore secondhand clothes to school and got made fun of for it. I remember every person who treated me like I didn't matter because of how I looked. He paused, letting his words sink in. When I started this business, I made myself a promise. I would create places where everyone felt welcome, where a construction worker could sit next to a CEO, and both would receive the same excellent service and respect. That was my dream. Sarah was openly sobbing now. I'm so sorry. I'll pack my things. I understand if I'm fired. Mr. Chen looked at Marcus and Catherine, then back at Sarah. A long moment passed. You're not fired, he finally said. Sarah's head snapped up in shock. What? You're not fired, he repeated. But you are going to learn. For the next month, you'll work with our community outreach program. You'll serve coffee at homeless shelters, at community centers in low-income neighborhoods, at senior centers. You'll meet people from all walks of life, and you'll treat every single one of them with the dignity they deserve. He picked up his backpack and slung it over his shoulder. We all have prejudices, Sarah. The question is whether we're willing to confront them and change. I'm giving you that chance. Don't waste it. As he walked toward the door, he turned back one last time. And Marcus, I want staff training on respect and compassion implemented across all locations. By the end of the month, this isn't just about Sarah. It's about the culture we're building. With that, James Chen walked out of his own cafe, looking every bit like a simple backpacker, but leaving behind a lesson that would echo through every person present that day. Sarah stood there, check still in hand, transformed by the encounter. She had judged a book by its cover and had been given a second chance she didn't deserve. She vowed never to make that mistake again. Enjoy this amazing tale, only on Behind the Door. Don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10 in the comments below.